Okay, sweet. Welcome everyone to our first webinar as Hive. My name is Cynthia and I'm representing the team today. We're super excited to be sharing our best practices and strategy. Letting everyone know that I am muting everyone's video and audio that joins, but we do have this group chat, so please navigate there. We're going to have questions throughout, so this is where we're going to be checking for them. For now, I'm going to close that. And we're going to dive in because I'm really excited to share this with all of you. So we're all living in like a very different time right now with COVID and with quarantine. And I think as a team, we care a lot about helping you realize and take your email strategy to the next level. It's such an important time right now for people to be connecting with subscribers and building really strong relationships. So with everything happening, I think this webinar's focus is to help you get a better idea of what a good baseline email strategy looks like and help you kind of build a stronger relationship, build that stronger brand advocacy to help you out right now. But also once all of this is over, all of these things are gonna help you maintain a strategy long-term. So hopefully this is helpful. We're going to dive in and talk about what makes a good email strategy. These are kind of the 5 themes that we're gonna talk about today. A good email strategy really is meant to help you grow your list. A good email strategy doesn't matter if you don't have anyone to email. You want to know and understand your audience, engage your subscribers the right way, optimize your emails for clicks, and also hit inboxes. So the relevant strategies for each of these things is growing your list with sign-up forms, understanding your audience with proper segmentation, engaging your subscribers with email automations, optimizing your emails for clicks with good design, and then hitting inboxes with a proper deliverability strategy. So these are the 5 sections. After each one, we're gonna have a question period, just so that we can talk a little bit about that current theme or like that section and how it feeds into your overall email strategy. So I'm excited to hear your questions, but let's get into the first, which is sign-up forms. Everyone knows that sign-up forms are the key to a good email strategy. They're how you grow your list, and that's how you start emailing people. But we're seeing that a lot of our customers are missing out on a few things, and that's kind of what we want to talk about today. The first being proper placement. Why have a good sign-up form if your customers can't find it? So a must-have is definitely to have it in your website's footer. We also recommend adding it into your header if that's possible. And then we see a lot of success with our customers who have a pop-up modal. So I'd like to introduce you to Ian. If you're a current customer, you know that Ian is our CEO, and we're going to use him as our example running through all of the strategies today. So let's say Ian comes along and he wants to subscribe to your brand because you're really cool. What does a good sign-up form look like? These are 2 really good examples. The first being what a standard footer sign-up form looks like. As you can see here, there's a place to submit your email with a button. But then it also has this copy that says, join this mailing list and what to expect when you email. I think that's a really good thing to include because people want to know what they're getting. If you're going to offer a discount code, which a lot of people do, you can say, sign up for 10% off. That's a really good incentive to have. And then this is an example of a pop-up modal. So thinking back to Ian, when he goes to your website, he's not going to scroll all the way down to your footer. So sometimes your sign-up form gets missed. So a lot of our customers who have this pop-up modal have seen a really good increase in their list growing because it's really hard to miss since this pops up right when you hit a website. So we definitely recommend this if it's something that you want to do. Now let's talk about this example for a second. Ian comes along and he's like, what is this? He is a smart person, so he knows that this is how he's going to subscribe to your sign up, like to your email list. But instead of letting him assume that this is how he subscribes, it's better to have some text that says like, sign up for email updates or subscribe to our list and receive updates on XYZ, just to make sure that people know what they're kind of getting into. And then the second thing that we recommend a lot of people do is to collect the right data from the get-go. So a lot of people will ask for email, but then we also want people to ask for name. It's 2020. And I think because we're trying to build relationships, you should also ask for a name so that you can start personalizing your emails to your list. We also recommend collecting data about interest, gender, birthday, really anything that helps you get a more comprehensive understanding of who Ian is as a subscriber. So I want to plug Hive for a little bit. This is our sign up form builder. And as you can see, you can make these interests that people can select. So does Ian like fashion? Does he want to hear about music? And then when people toggle those, they actually get dropped automatically into segments. We're going to talk more about segmentation strategy later, but doing a little bit of homework now to collect the right data is going to help you send more targeted blasts later on. So back to Ian as an example. Let's say he comes and you get his name and his email. That's pretty good. That's baseline, what you should be collecting. But imagine what it could look like if you knew about his interests, if you knew about his location, even his birthday. I think that helps you get started on a better foot with your relationship with him so you can start sending him things that are more relevant and that are more engaging. Comparing the two, having these optional sections gives you a more comprehensive view of him. So that's kind of what we're trying to get at here. And then lastly is connecting your sign up form to a welcome email. We see a lot of our customers having good sign up forms and their lists are growing by a ton, but then it's not connected to anything. And a lot of customers, 74%, are actually expecting a welcome email when they sign up. So if you're thinking about the customer journey, if you're thinking about Ian's experience with your brand, it's very weird to sign up and then not get a welcome email. So we're going to talk more about welcome automations in that section of the webinar, but just something to think about for now. I think it's such a big disconnect that is so easy to fix. And it's like when you're going to someone's house, you want your friend to be like, hey, what's up? You don't want them to just immediately jump into a random conversation. Not that that's happening because we're isolating and staying safe, but that's kind of the example. So that kind of wraps up the sign up form section. Does anyone have questions or thoughts so far? If you do, please go ahead, leave it in this chat, give you a bit of time to ask. We're also going to have a general question section at the end of the webinar. So if you think about a question later on, you can always ask it and we'll address it at the end. Okay, question from Ben Folly. What if you're worried about people not wanting to fill out a ton of information on a sign-up form because you think it will discourage them from signing up? Great question, Ben. So the good thing about having or asking for a lot of things is that you can make certain fields optional. You can always make email and first name a requirement and then have the option there for subscribers to give you more information. You're going to be surprised that a lot of subscribers actually want to tell you more about them than you know, because in this day and age, like, we want brands to only send us emails that we think are relevant. So the more information we can provide, we're down for it. So don't be worried too much about discouraging. I think you'll be surprised at how many people will offer you the information, but also know that you don't have to make it a requirement. You can just make email and name a requirement and then have the option for them to give you more information later. So I hope that answers your question, Ben. Let me know if it doesn't. Sweet. I'm going to see if anyone else has questions for now, but if not, we're going to continue. Cool. Doesn't look like it. So moving on, segmentation. I talked a bit earlier about how segmentation helps you understand your audience and know who's on your list. So a good segmentation strategy helps you send emails that people care about. You're going to hear me say this over and over again in this webinar, but a good email strategy isn't about sending email. It's about engaging your subscribers with what they want to hear. That feeds into getting good inbox placement, that feeds into good deliverability, which we'll talk about at the end. So you're going to hear me say that a lot, but that's what segmentation helps with. So when you're segmenting, there are two layers to it. The first is engagement level, and the second is what matters to you in your industry. So we'll talk specifically about both of these, but we're first going to talk about engagement level. So as you see in this little screenshot, this is one of the steps of building an email campaign before you schedule it in Hive. You can see that we automatically bucket your subscribers by these levels, and I'll talk a little bit about what they are. So active subscribers are your most engaged subscribers. They're your bread and butter. They're the ones who are opening, clicking, buying from you. They're like your best friends, and those are the ones that you should be emailing constantly. You have your new subscribers who have just subscribed to your email. You have at-risk subscribers who you kind of haven't seen open your last 5 emails. Inactive is more than that. It's like they haven't opened your last 10 emails. And then invalids are people who unsubscribed, spam complained, etc. So in your day-to-day, when you're sending your main blast, you should really only be emailing your actives and your new. Like I said, actives are your bread and butter. They're going to open everything. and the new subscribers have just subscribed, so they told you that they want to hear from you. This makes them the most likely to engage with your emails, and that's why you should be sending to them. Now, at risk and inactive are the people who you haven't seen in a while. So why are you going to continue to send them the same content that isn't getting open? That makes no sense. Continuing to sending to them will actually damage your deliverability, and that's why you should come up with a re-engagement strategy. So we'll talk about that when we talk about win-back automations, but it's good to know that you shouldn't really be sending to these people in your main blasts. And then invalids are the ones, like I said, unsubscribed, spam complained. You never want to email them. In fact, in Hive, we don't let you because it's illegal. But if you're not using Hive and you're on another ESP, it's something to think about and to figure out with like your Excel sheets or whatever so that you never end up emailing them. And then segmenting by what matters to you in your industry. Hive doesn't do this automatically for you as a platform because it's so unique to your brand and what matters to you. I definitely think that this is something that's so important, but you should ask us about it in your free consultations. I think I forgot to mention in the beginning, but everyone who's attending this webinar will get a free 30-minute consultation with one of our teams of like email experts. And I think it's going to be super helpful to like take that to its advantage. But this is definitely something to ask about. So if you're in e-commerce, in that industry, we see a lot of success with our customers who segment by purchase behavior, product category. Thinking back to Ian, let's say he loves running and he does love running. He buys like $500 sneakers. You probably shouldn't be sending him emails about like hoodies, right? Like you should be sending him emails about expensive sneakers. And then events people, segmenting by genre, venue or location, artist, purchase tier, really anything that feeds into your business model and how you can find similar themes in your list. Because chances are in your list, not everyone's looking to get the same information from you. They're not looking to receive the same types of emails. So how are you going to smartly organize them based on similarities so that you can target your emails to those specific people? So if you're in events, let's say Ian really loves Kanye, you're not going to be sending him emails about James Bay because he's probably not going to attend a James Bay show. So that's to give you a general idea. And here's our main guy, Ian. Let me show you one more visual representation. So let's say you're segmenting properly and you're sending to your actives, you're doing everything. Actually, let's say you're not. Let's say you're not doing any segmentation at all and you're gonna send Ian 5 emails. Pretty generalized, whatever. He's maybe gonna open the first 2 and then say, oh, this isn't really relevant to me. I'm gonna stop opening the emails. That's gonna be a really tricky customer experience to navigate and like re-engage him with after. So if you segment properly, let's say you only send him 3 out of those 5, but they're more relevant. He's probably gonna open all 3 and continue to open your emails because he knows that they're going to be relevant to what he's looking for. So that's what a good segmentation strategy helps you with. Sending Ian emails that he's going to open. So I hope that makes sense. Any questions and thoughts so far about this section? I'm going to wait and give people a few seconds. Okay, Ben has another question. Ben is my A+ student. Wow. Ian should like James Bay. I love James Bay. Okay, Ben's question. What should you do with subscribers who receive all your winbacks and don't open any of them? Good question, Ben. So we're going to talk more about winback automations in the automation section, which is next. But when you're sending winback emails to people, remember, they're the ones who haven't engaged in a while. If they're also not opening your emails you've specifically designed to re-engage them with like discount codes or whatever, they're probably never going to like open your emails again. So you should think about them as almost ghost subscribers. You should probably never email them unless you're gonna offer like a very sweet deal, like 100% off, tickets to LA, like something super crazy. Sorry, I hear feedback from someone, so if you have your mic on, please mute yourself. I'm just trying not to distract anyone. But we have a group chat, so if you'd like to ask questions, we're all here right now. But I hope that answers your question. We're gonna talk more about winback automations, like I said, later. But to reiterate, if they're not opening your win-back emails either, you definitely shouldn't be emailing them at all. You'll be damaging your deliverability if you continue to after that. So thanks, Ben. It seems like no one else has a question, so I'm going to keep going, but feel free to continue asking in here and we can always address them later. So automations, we love automations at Hive. If you can take anything away from this webinar, is that you should have automation set up. Like, we will say so many good things about them forever, but automations are basically like emails that trigger off of customers' unique actions. So because they're so personalized and so time sensitive, they actually generate 320% more revenue than non-automated emails. And they're a great way for you to send emails to the right person at the right time, all while being hands-off. It like takes a little bit of work in the beginning, but you'll see so much better response and engagement, and like your whole email strategy will benefit overall from it. And that's why we love it so much. So we're going to talk about the 3 today that I think are essential for every single business. First, welcome email to welcome Ian when he first subscribes, abandon cart when people add something to their cart and don't complete it, and then win back to engage the people who you haven't seen in a while, you're at risk and you're inactives. So welcome emails. Like I mentioned earlier, 74% of consumers expect a welcome email when they subscribe. But from a revenue perspective, they also get really high engagement, 3 times more opens, clicks, and revenue per email compared to other marketing emails. It's because people have just showed you intent that they want to hear from you. So people are ready to engage. They're ready to open your emails. That's why it's so beneficial to have one set up. And a lot of people ask us, what does the outline of a welcome automation look like? So I want to say first that if you haven't had any welcome automation set up today, definitely just focus on setting up the first email. Don't worry about email 2 and 3. Having one is already so much better than having nothing, and it's really easy to do. So your first email will be a simple, welcome to your brand, welcome to Hive. And you can say a little bit about what customers will expect to hear from you, but the most important thing to do is to include a button that says confirm your subscription. We want people to click this button. It can link to your website. Their subscription's already confirmed in Hive, but you just want them to feel like they have to click to confirm. And that way you're gonna generate that initial engagement and to just give you a more in-depth description of like how deliverability works. Like I said earlier, you're sending emails to people that are going to engage with them. And you're doing that in order to build your reputation as a sender. So ISPs are the ones who think, well, yeah, they're the ones who like grade you as a sender and decide if your emails are going to hit inboxes. They're looking to see if you're continuing to send emails that people care about. So by sending a welcome email to a new subscriber right away that they click, the ISP will be like, oh, okay, like Hive looks like a good sender. Ian wants to see this welcome email. He clicked on it. Let's continue to place Hive's emails in Ian's inbox. So I hope that makes sense. But we're going to talk about deliverability more at the end of this webinar as well. So if you haven't set up a welcome automation yet, definitely just do a simple one like that. If you're looking to take your current welcome automation to the next level, we recommend setting up a series. A series is just a welcome automation with multiple steps. So here there is the second email and the third email. In the second one, we usually recommend having a discount code. It's super simple to like give them a little bit of a sweeter deal to get new customers to convert. And then once they have bought something and they're in that funnel, you can work on making them reoccurring customers. So a simple discount and a button to shop now. And the third welcome email can be just a little bit more about you and your brand. It's 2020. It's all about building that relationship with your subscribers. We all expect brands to have a mission. We care about what the brand is doing. So why not tell your subscribers what you're up to, just to like build that relationship. So in Hive, when you want to set up an automation, this is what it'll look like if you click the custom, like set up a build your own. And then if you click email capture apps, you'll see the option to click signs up via sign up form. So remember when I mentioned in the sign up form section, if you build that form in Hive, you can set it up to trigger off of joining through that sign up form. And then here it's really simple to click set up your time delay, set up your email, etc. We have a lot of amazing videos on how to do this. They're on our tutorials page, hive.co/tutorials. We'll also, again, include all of these links after we do a follow-up on this webinar, but definitely check those out. They're super helpful. I'm also going to do a quick plug to our blog. We've written a lot of super specific guides that walk you through how to set up good automations and good series. So again, we'll have all these links, but definitely read this one. It's a good one. So next is abandoned cart. Abandoned carts basically send to people who started a checkout but don't complete their purchase. And you'll be surprised that like up to 70% of people do that. And that's a lot of money that you can potentially recover. Because these people, they wanted to buy the item. They just either forgot or they decided not to, or they decided to think about it. So if you send a simple reminder email, that's a lot of potential revenue that you can generate. And to equate that in numbers, it's actually $2 to $4 trillion from abandoned carts a year that are lost. So this is definitely a good one to set up. And as I mentioned before, you can do automations that are multiple steps too. If you were to choose one to make 3 steps, I would say do the abandoned cart one. This one has been proven to do better with 3 steps by generating 69% more revenue. So you can set up a welcome and a win back with just 1 email, but your abandoned cart should have 3 emails just to like get a higher conversion rate. And I promise you that if you set up an abandoned cart, you will make money. An average of 10% conversion, but you will make money no matter what. Like you will recover sales by having this set up, and that's why we think it's such a good automation to have. This is a simple outline of what a 3-step series would look like. The first 2 are pretty much just reminders. It's like, hey, you left something in your cart. The second one should usually be a bit more time sensitive, just to like put the pressure on them. Either say, hey, your cart's about to expire, or hey, this item is running out soon, just to like give them a little bit of a nudge. And then the last one, we usually recommend having a discount code. People love a good deal. So if you can just give them like a little something extra to make them complete the purchase, we think it's a good idea. So that's what the typical flow looks like. Now, when you are in Hive and you click create a new email journey, this is what you'll see. So when we're talking about welcome emails, you'll usually click the build it yourself, and then you'll select whatever your signup form is, or if you have the SDK. That's a little tricky depending on what your setup is. So talk to us about that in your consultations. But when you're doing an abandoned cart, we have that automatically baked in. So you're gonna click that, and then this is what you'll see. You'll also click abandoned order. We have browse abandonment automations too, but that seemed like a webinar, like an email strategy 102. So if you want us to do a webinar on that, we'll talk about that later. But for today, we're just gonna focus on abandoned cart. So this is what it'll look like. That'll set up the entry trigger to be anytime someone adds something to their cart but doesn't complete the purchase. And then you'll be able to set up the time delay, your email. It's all super simple. For these, we typically recommend a 3-hour time delay or a 24-hour time delay. And our blogs talk more about that. But the idea behind a 24-hour time delay is the customer was shopping at a specific time. So if you send the email at the same time the next day, there's a higher chance that they're going to be in a shopping mood and a higher chance that they're going to go back to their cart. So we also have really great blog posts on this. We even have one on why event marketers specifically should set it up. So definitely check those out. They're super informative. And then lastly is win back. We talked a bit earlier about how to re-engage people who haven't clicked your emails in a while. It's not just you who experiences this. Like a lot of people's lists just become inactive naturally. But the important thing is to know that it's better to re-engage them than to send them like emails that they haven't shown an interest in, because 1, that hurts your deliverability, but 2, you want to re-engage them because it costs 5 times more to attract a new customer. So instead of continuing to email your inactives and your at-risk in your daily blast, set up a win-back automation. This is what a win-back automation typically looks like. Again, if you don't have one set up right now, just do this first email, a simple, we miss you, and then asking people to set preferences if you have a preference center, or even asking them to tell you like what they want to hear from you. The chances are if someone hasn't engaged in a while, they're looking for like super specific types of content. So if you can ask them to tell you in that email, they'll probably start re-engaging again. If you're looking to take your win-back automation to the next level, add these 2 next steps. The second one should be a discount, 10%, 20%, and then this last one. Remember Ben's really good question earlier where he was like, what happens if people don't open or win back emails? This is like the last chance that you have to send an email to get people to try to re-engage with you. After this, you shouldn't be sending to them because then your deliverability will just tank not just for people who don't engage, but for everyone on your list. And I'll explain that a little bit more later. So this last email is like, pull out all the stops. Sorry, a train is coming by. Our office is like next to a train track. Okay, they're gone. But pull out all the stops, whether it's having an increased discount, so 10% in the second email and then like 25% in the last email. This is just like anything you can offer to get them re-engage with your brand. Sometimes if you don't want to offer anything, it's like, just say like, is it us? Do you want to continue hearing from us? Being forward about it is a lot better, because maybe the person was just on vacation and they missed like your last 10 emails, but they're like, oh my God, I do still want to keep hearing from you. They'll click keep me subscribed, and there you go, they're re-engaged. So I hope that makes sense. Here's what the customer win-back automation looks like when you click it in Hive. We set it up so that it's the last time they've had an interaction, and then this is the thing that I want to talk about, the time delay. The time delay is very unique to every single brand because it depends on how often you send emails. So let's say that you send an email every single day. That time delay will look a little bit smaller. You would set it to maybe like 10 or 15 days. If you're sending once a month, which you definitely should not be sending email once a month, highly recommend against that. But if you do, you would set it to like, I don't know, a year. That makes no sense. That's why you shouldn't do that. But you get what I mean by shorter times versus longer times, depending on how frequently you send. And then we have a really good blog post on this too, so check that out. We'll link it after this. And yeah, any questions and thoughts so far about automations? Let's go to the chat. I'm waiting to see if Ben has another question for me. Ben's been on a roll, so. Ben does not. I wonder if anyone else has. How frequently should you be sending emails from Patrick? Sorry, I just gave you a nickname there. That's a good question. The best thing to be doing is to send every single day. You want to be sending frequently enough because, like I said, let's bring it back to this deliverability. ISPs are looking to see and like suss you out as a sender. So they're like gauging, well, they're giving you a grade and your reputation depends on that. So if they see that you're only sending once a month, they're going to be like, who is this person? Like, we don't know who Hive is because they only pop up once a month. That decreases the chances that they'll show your emails in the inbox. But let's say that you're sending smaller blasts every day. You're sending them maybe once a day, every 2 days. The ISPs will continue to see that and give you a better reputation because they trust you more because you're always around, you're always sending. And the important thing is you're sending emails that people are engaging with. So they'll continue to give you better inbox placement. You want to see like your deliverability and your reputation is something that you have to constantly work towards. So once you get good inbox placement, that doesn't mean you get it forever. You have to consistently work on it, consistently send emails that are like frequently that are really good, or else your deliverability will be shot again. So Patrick has another question. What if you were a clothing e-commerce store and daily would be annoying as you aren't buying clothes every day? Yeah, totally. I think it totally depends on like your life cycle. How often are you setting up product, blah, 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 blah. I think weekly is the max that you should go if you're a clothing store. If you're a smaller e-commerce brand that doesn't have drops as often, maybe 2 weeks. But I think you can be very creative about how you're informing people about your clothes. Maybe it's you inform people when there are new drops, and that could be every 2 weeks, but then in between that, every week or every few days, look at your segments and see what they're interested in. Like if there's a certain group that likes certain colorways, a really cool idea would be, okay, we don't really have any new drops, but these people have shown that they really like the color blue. I don't know. So then you can make like a fun email that pulls in your blue clothing products. Just a random suggestion that I thought about, but trying to be creative about how you can leverage the data that you have on your subscribers, the products that you have, and then how you can consistently like be in touch with them to show ISPs that you're a cool sender. But the more important thing to remember is that as long as you send emails that people are opening and you don't do it too infrequently, you should be okay. So I hope that makes sense. And yeah, it doesn't seem like there's any other questions. Oh, so my colleague said a good thing to mention too about sending once a month is that's very typical behavior of what spammers do. And that's why it's not a very good sign. So ISPs are seeing, they're looking at so many different brands, right? So what is a typical pattern of a sender that isn't trustworthy, like a spammer? They will pop up once a month. They'll like set up a subdomain, which is something that everybody should do for deliverability, but then they'll blast everyone, and then they're spamming people with content, which isn't a good thing. So if you're a good brand and yeah, you have a subdomain, but you only send once a month, that's still a very similar pattern to spammers. So ISPs will be like, oh, you could be a spammer. I'm not going to trust you and place you in the inbox. So I hope that makes sense. Yeah. Sorry, my colleague is saying, yeah. Think of it less as blast and more of like a holistic email strategy. The automations are meant to trigger at certain times based on people's unique actions. So if they're doing something at like 2 a.m., like that's cool. You're going to capture that with an automation. It's not typical that you're going to send and schedule a blast at 2 a.m. You know what I mean? So it all just kind of fits into a more holistic strategy. You're going to have your main blast that you send to people, and then these automations are based on like people like Ian, your unique subscribers who are going to be like shopping, browsing your website at random times in the day. They're going to help you capture and start those like relationships there, or build on those relationships, sorry. So we're going to go on to the next slide. I think template design is a very important thing to touch on, because let's say that you did everything else that we talked about in this webinar. You have a good sign up form, your list is growing, you have automation set up, you're segmenting people properly, and you're like doing targeted email sends, but then you're sending really ugly blasts. You're sending emails that just look bad or like aren't designed well. People probably aren't going to click on your emails. As a subscriber, I would open it being like, what is the deal here? Like, what are they trying to tell me? And probably not try to figure out. I'll delete it. And then if that's continuously a trend, I won't open your emails and I'll probably stop engaging with you. So it really comes down to having a good baseline email template. And when you're designing them, it's good to build them with a goal in mind. So having a goal will help you create visuals and like write copy that drives click-through, because you're writing it with that goal. It also helps prevent you from falling into the trap of just updating your subscribers. Like I mentioned in the beginning, email strategy is not about emailing people a lot. It's about emailing when they want to receive your email and engage with it. So here's an example of a email template from Taylor Stitch. It's a good example because it has the three main components of good email design. You have one relevant image that's on brand. You have short, concise copy that tells people like what you're trying to say. Yep, we want it, your old shit. All right, I got it. And then one clear CTA. So it's really important to stick to very minimal like CTAs. You probably want maybe one or two in your email so that people know where to click. They know that you want them to click that button. And there's another rule that we follow called the inverted triangle rule. And this is basically all above the fold, and it's about placing things properly so that you drive the subscriber's eye down to the button. So typically you'll have the header photo at the top, and then you'll have the copy in the middle, and then naturally that guides the subscriber's eyes down to click the button. A lot of people follow this rule. It drives higher conversion than having a different setup, so we recommend following that. I also wanted to quickly talk about email length. I actually showed you a cropped version of this email. If you stopped it from there and just had a footer, beautiful email. But then I also wanted to show an example of a longer email, because I know a lot of our like customers, especially events people, do send longer templates. So this is an example of a good but lengthy email. As you can see, this is the full one, and then I just broke it down here so that you could see the contents of the email better. Everything here is still talking about their goal. Their goal is to tell you about their new program. So obviously the email is going to be longer. They're explaining this entire program to you. But you can see that they're still doing it well. It's not stuffed. There's a lot of good padding, and you can either send your close in and participate in their program, or you can learn more. So a good rule of thumb is that, sorry, I'm gonna try to just mute whoever's on here. Cool. So a good rule of thumb is that viewing this like if you view this email template on mobile, it should only be about 2 to 3 finger scrolls. That's the maximum length that an email should be. And keeping in mind that all of the text is still big enough that you can see it. You're not jam packing content in so that it fits into 2 to 3 finger scrolls. It's pretty evenly spaced out. So that should be probably a good rule of thumb for how long templates should be. I know a lot of our events customers have a lot of like upcoming shows they want to tell people about, and that's why a lot of the emails are long because, for example, this whole section would be a list of like all the shows that they'll have in like the next month. I think it's important to remember that, first of all, you shouldn't be sending all of your shows to your subscribers, right? High chance that because Ian likes Kanye, he won't buy a James Bay ticket. So what other like artists or genres of the shows fit in with Kanye? You should really only be sending him that list, which might be like 3 out of the 20 shows that you have. But also, it's okay to only show your next like week of shows or your next few days of shows and then have a button that links out to a full like events list. If people are interested in seeing what your upcoming shows are, they're going to click out and like learn more about it on your website. So don't feel the need to jam pack it all in, but then also know that you should be targeting and making sure the shows are relevant based on their interests. So I hope that makes sense. Does anyone have questions or thoughts about template design? There's also a question period at the end, so you can also ask questions while I'm presenting and then we'll talk about them later, but it seems like no one does, so I'm going to keep going for now. For the last section, deliverability, we can probably do a full webinar on deliverability. There's so much that we could say, but I think for most people, it's important to remember that deliverability is pretty simple. If you did every other thing that we told you to in this webinar, if you have a good sign-up form that collects really good data from the get-go, use that data and also make segments that help you target and know your audience. If you have automation set up that engage people at exactly the right time, and then also if you're paying attention and you're only emailing your active and your new like engagement levels and then re-engaging or coming up with specific strategies to re-engage like at risk and inactive, that's all going to feed in and help you get good deliverability. None of it requires you to think about deliverability in like a specific way. It's all going to come naturally because it's all part of a holistic strategy. There are certain things that you can do that are more technical, but we can probably do a full webinar on that. Let me know if you want a webinar on deliverability. We can definitely do it. But the main thing to remember is that the key is to continuously send good emails that people want to see and engage with, no matter what that means, whether that's more targeting, better email design, etc. So bringing it back to Ian, ISPs are looking to see if Ian wants to hear from you. That's how you get inbox placement. So if you're sending him emails and he opens them, ISPs will continue to place your email in the inbox. A really good thing to remember is that you can say, oh, okay, whatever, I'll just continue to send good emails to everyone. But the one thing that you shouldn't do is to continue emailing your at-risk and your inactives. That is the easiest way to screw up your deliverability, because in this case, if Ian hasn't clicked your emails in a while and you continue to email him, that's showing ISPs that people don't want to be seeing your emails. So they're not going to place your emails in his inbox, but more importantly, they're going to stop placing your email in inboxes of your actives or your new. So don't risk the chance of engaging with your bread and butter, the people that have been opening and clicking and buying from you, just because you want to email more people. That just doesn't make sense. So I hope that helps. And I know that people had some questions, so let's check them out. Ben says, yes, please. Lisa says, +1 for deliverability webinar. Okay, sweet. We'll definitely do one. It's a super interesting thing to learn about because it's not as complicated as people think. We have a full guide on it too. So yeah, stay tuned for that. We'll definitely host that. I don't see any other questions about it specifically for now, so I'm going to keep going. Our guide plug. Yeah, so like I mentioned, we have a full guide on email deliverability. It breaks down all of like the technical things, but in a very understandable way. So these are all on hive.co/resources. We'll send links after this webinar. But if you want to do some of your own reading for now, all of these guides kind of talk about what we've discussed in this webinar and have broken things down. We even love automation so much that we broke it down for like people and then for also like event marketers. So definitely check those out. And then we'll also do a webinar too. I saw that there was another message. How about subject lines? Yeah, what do you want to know about subject lines, Bill? Or do you want a webinar on subject lines? I'm waiting for Bill to respond. Subject lines are very important. They are one of the key indicators of like whether people are going to read your email, because people aren't going to open your email if you don't have a good subject line. It's very important to make sure that your subject line is really concise and to the point, and you want to leverage the preview text too. So having a shorter subject line and then telling people what is in the, like what to expect like in the preview. Mix them up, pointed, yes. So subject lines, I think, are an art, and it's good to mix it up. I think it's good to know what your subscribers react to and engage with. Not so much as doing A/B tests, because I think in A/B tests, there are so many different variables. I think it's more about making sure that your subject lines are targeted to who you're sending to. So thinking about segmentation, like if you're sending an email about, what's a good example? I don't know, running shoes. If you want to send an email about running shoes to your segment that really likes running shoes, because like let's say Ian, he loves running shoes, he bought $500 running shoes, so like he wants to buy running shoes, your subject line should probably mention running shoes. Or you can continue to gauge over time, because I don't think subject lines are so much as looking at them at like a comparison email to email. It's about over a couple of months when you're sending consistently to segments, how are those segments responding to your targeted emails to them? Were there certain times where your where your subject line mentioned something that they cared about, or do they want to see, like, will they always open it because you say running shoes in your subject line? Like a weird example, but trying to find patterns in what makes sense with what you're trying to speak about in your email to that segment is what you should follow. So if that means mixing them up, like, yeah, I think your subject lines should be different for different segments because you're talking to different types of people. If you find that a certain format works for you, let's say if you're in events and there's a certain like format of a subject line that works, that's like new show at X venue with X artist, and like that is informative, which I think it's pretty good. You can continue to use that for different shows, because I think when people are looking for events, they want to know where's the venue, where's the artist, or like what's the day. So continue to use that format if that works for people. So I hope that explains like or answers your question, Bill. Another question from Lisa. Can we cover subdomains in the deliverability webinar as well, in the process of setting mine up, but want to learn more about them and the benefit? Of course, Lisa. We also have really good blogs on subdomains too. We'll definitely cover them. Subdomains are essential to deliverability. For those of you who don't know, subdomains basically help you separate your reputation out from your main domain. So let's say we are like hive.co. We could have hello@hive.co and send all of our emails off of that, but that risks us damaging the reputation of that if we send all of our emails off of it. So a lot of people will have their main domain, they'll have one for like transactional emails, and they'll have another one for marketing. Let's say marketing@hive.co. And that way, if there's like an email mistake off of marketing@hive.co, it's not going to screw up your deliverability for your transactional subdomain or your main domain. So that's kind of a little preview to subdomains. We'll definitely talk about it in the deliverability webinar. Thank you, Lisa, for bringing them up. These have all been really good questions. I don't see anything else coming in so far, so I am going to move on. So yeah, these are all the guides. Check them out for further reading. If you want to do a little bit more reading before you have your consultations with us too, like these are always going to be there for you, and they're all free. They're all on our homepage. And then last but not least, do want to remind you that we are offering all of you a free 30-minute consultation. We think it's a very tough time right now, and we really care, and we really want to make sure that everyone's staying safe, and we're here to help you. We want you to know that we care about your email, doing well and like helping you drive more revenue or set you up in a better place to do well once all of this is over. I think it's a very uncertain time. All of us at Hive are working from home right now and we're staying safe, and we hope that you are too. And again, we just want you to know that we care and we want to help you level up your email marketing strategy. We're so excited that you're here and that you show that you want to. So definitely book those with us. Email us at hello@hive if you want to book. Let us know if you have any questions too by emailing us there. And then that basically wraps up today's webinar. There is more room to chat because it's only 3:50, so there's about 10 more minutes. So if you have anything else you would like to ask, feel free to let us know in the chat. We will definitely host a deliverability webinar. Stay tuned for our emails and we'll definitely let you know. Thanks, Ben. This is awesome. And yeah, thank you, Bill. This is so fun. I'm so excited that people are responding well because we thought, how can we help people right now in this webinar or in this time of COVID and quarantine? And I think webinars are a really helpful way to inform and help people. So thank you, Caitlin, Lisa, and Dana too. I'm so glad that this has been helpful for everyone. We have recorded this, so we will be sharing all of this later with all of our links. So don't worry too much. I'm very excited that everyone wants more of these too. There will be a lot more coming. So thank you, Alexa, Reed, Cien? I don't know. Hopefully I pronounced that properly. Wow, it's like I'm just saying hi to everyone. Thanks, Patrick. Cool. I don't really know what else to say. I mean, no one else seems to have that many questions. So thank you so much, everyone, for attending our first webinar. We're gonna have so many more. Check out all of our resources, our guides, our videos on the tutorials page. We'll be in touch after this with all of the links and with a recording of the screen. Make sure to book your consultations with our team of email experts, and I will see everyone next time, I guess.